Night shift cop in rural Montana, 7 sinister rules to survive the haunting unknown. Jake Thompson gripped the steering wheel as shadows flickered across the road, swirling as if alive. In Brookdale, Montana, the night breathed terror. Eerie whispers floated on the wind, like screams caught in a chokehold, smothering the quiet of the rural landscape. He could feel it seeping into his bones, that creeping sensation that something unspeakable was lurking in the fog. The whispers grew louder, taunting him, reminding him of screams he dared not recall. Every night on patrol felt like a twisted game of hide-and-seek, him versus the unknown. He glanced at the clock. 2:13 a.m. 10 more hours until the dawn might wash away this unsettling awareness. Often he'd dream of laughter echoing through this town, memories of sunlit days playing tag with friends. Now, the same trees he once raced past seemed to loom ominously, stretched fingers of darkness clawing at his resolve. Gods above, he yearned to escape this haunted silence. Then the radio crackled, shattering the tranquility of his thoughts. Unit 12, we have a 10-67 possible abduction. Location, Maple Road by the forest. Time is critical. An icy grip clenched around his heart. A woman missing. Just a mile from that dreadful wood. He fought the growing sense of dread, shaking it off like grass clippings after mowing. This was Brookdale, crime didn't nest here. But as he sped toward the scene, unease gnawed at him. The townsfolk's fearful gazes felt as if they were digging into his being. After a few minutes of gathering hesitant accounts from frantic neighbors, a grotesque tapestry of dread unraveled in his mind. Whispers spread about the whispering wraith, a spectral figure echoing the secrets that plagued this town. Their doubts seeped into Jake's thoughts. Could this folklore, this wild myth, hold a shred of truth? Each interview felt like a piece of a dark jigsaw, the resulting image unsettling and grotesque. He sensed their shared denial, a thick fog of silence wrapping around them like a noose. They were hiding something. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The tension escalated as town council meetings full of knitted brows and hushed voices became the norm. Neighbors turned to strangers, familiar faces twisted into masks of fear. Every glance in the diner sparked suspicion, whispers threaded through aisles like shivering leaves in autumn. They were unraveling, and the town was tinged with betrayal. Jake stared into the depths of the town's past and felt the spectral rules of the wraith embedding themselves into his being, like shadows at dusk that he combed through aged reports, scribbled warnings of 7 sinister rules forged in the fires of silence. As he uncovered the truth, fear gripped him. His neighbor's secrets were darker than blessed night. In one fell swoop, he recognized the horror emerging through the cracks. His beloved mayor, the glee which had once adorned his character, now represented a chilling untrustworthiness. At a forgotten farm, his heart thundered. The cries of stifled souls fractured the wind. Jake faced the terrifying edge of clarity. The monster lurked within familiar realms. Those he once cared for wore disguises of the macabre. As the chilling howl broke through the veil of night, he felt every hair rise in primal warning. Something awaited him, awakening in those murky woods. There was no escaping the night, but the secret it seemed to know him. Jake hesitated, heart racing, as he stared into the hosanna of shadows. He wasn't merely a cop anymore, he was on the precipice of unveiling the horrific truth, yet the very fabric of everything he cherished hung in the balance. He was not alone, and the watchful darkness pressed in around him, its secrets tantalizing yet deadly, leaving him with one unbearable question: how could he protect his family from the monsters, if they wore the faces of those he once trusted? The gas tank light blinked ominously, a cruel reminder of mortality amidst the rising dread. Jake could feel the weight of darkness creeping in, edging closer with every heartbeat. He parked the cruiser at the farmhouse, the engine's rumble fading into an oppressive silence. Shadows danced along the periphery, long fingers reaching from the trees, as if bidding him welcome or goodbye. With tense steps, he approached the old wooden porch. The boards creaked underfoot, sounding a warning. Each echo amplified the pulse thrumming in his veins, a drum beat of fear that urged him to turn back. With a deep breath, he pressed onward, knocking on the door with his badge glimmering under the moonlight. Just a solid thud. No answer. Jake's instinct urged him to look inside. He peered through the window. Darkness loomed, but something moved, a shadow shifting just beyond his vision. A breath caught in his throat. Slowly, he pulled his flashlight from his belt, casting a white beam across the indistinct shapes inside. Empty furniture gathered dust in the corner, but what gripped him was the eerie stillness. The silence held secrets he couldn't afford to ignore. He pushed the door open, the hinges squealed in protest, each shriek a testament to something long forgotten. Inside, the air felt thick and stale, stinging his nose with the scent of decay. The flashlight beam quivered as he moved deeper into the house, illuminating family portraits. Wide smiles posed against a backdrop of different times, their eyes seemed to follow him as he passed, dark pools of unspoken stories. Then he heard it, a muffled cry, barely audible, like a desperate plea slipped through cracks of reality. Heart hammering, he pressed on, following the sound through the narrow hallway. The shadows deepened, thickening with each step, as if trying to pull him back. Sweat dripped down his spine, and he clutched the flashlight tighter, feeling utterly exposed. The cries grew louder, more distinct. He felt a chill wipe over him, gnawing at his resolve as he stumbled into a dimly lit room. A makeshift play area sprawled across the floor, littered with toys. It was innocent until he turned to the corner. A small door, half open, beckoned him. The source of the cries. Something deep within him screamed to run. He swallowed hard, knowing the darkness might consume him, but he had to know. With trembling hands, he reached for the door. His breath came in quick, shallow gasps, the echoes of his own heartbeat drowning out all else. As he swung the door open, the cries ceased abruptly, plunging him into a chilling silence. The room revealed nothing, only a darker pit yawning into nothingness. The cold air curled around him, a dismissive laugh in the face of his courage. The flashlight flickered, and in that moment of uncertainty, the shadows behind him shifted. Jake froze. Was he not alone? Panic surged through him, eyes darting to the celebration of nothingness unfolding around him. He could hear the faint whispering, clearer now, as if the walls themselves were exhaling secrets. Every muscle tensed, every nerve screamed. Suddenly, he heard a rustling from behind. A figure, barely illuminated, hidden within encroaching shadows. Shadows full of memories, full of terror. As he shifted his gaze, the air thickened, and an electric charge coursed through the room. Jake, a voice slithered through the silence, familiar yet wrong. As recognition dawned, the darkness twisted. What had he unleashed into the world? With terror igniting his thoughts and adrenaline coursing through his veins, Jake stumbled back, but the entity edged closer, reaching through the veil of black. In a flash of clarity, he realized the truth awaited him beyond those whispers, but it came at a price he wasn't prepared to pay. Jake stumbled, fear clawing at his insides, but the only escape was forward. What stood before him was not just the echoes of the past but a harbinger of a nightmare yet to come. He breathed one last time before the darkness swallowed him whole, leaving only that voice hanging in the air. Like a promise. Welcome home, Jake. I've been waiting. As his world blinked out of existence, a chilling question lingered in the corners of his mind. What had he truly brought to light, and who would pay the ultimate price for the truth? The cold had a vicious grip on Jake's consciousness. He blinked, trying to clear the heavy fog that enveloped him. The darkness wasn't just around him, it was inside him, a weight pushing against his thoughts. He struggled to move, but his body refused to respond. Slowly, awareness came. He lay sprawled on a floor, rough wood digging painfully into his ribs. The flashlight laid a few feet away, its weak glow flickering like a dying heartbeat. He reached for it, the muscles of his arms screaming in protest, and finally grasped the handle, pulling it close to his chest as if it could ward off the encroaching fear. As light flooded the room, he found himself in a small, cramped space, more a closet than a playroom, and yet it was decorated with faded murals of joyful children laughing. Their eyes in the dim light looked hollow, like the laughter was long gone. Jake, the whisper slithered through the air again, piercing the thick silence. Goosebumps erupted on his arms as he turned the light toward the corner, where shadows wove deeper than the darkness surrounding him. Nothing. Just a heap of old toys. He pushed himself to his feet, heart racing, breath shallow. "Who is there?" he demanded, his voice trembling as it filled the empty space. No answer came, just the eerie rustling of air. He took a tentative step towards the door. "I'm a cop." The bravado tasted bitter on his tongue. Out there, he had authority; inside this nightmare, he felt small, vulnerable. As he reached for the handle, a sudden chill swept through the space, turning the air thick and suffocating. He yanked the door open, the hinges screeching their protest as if warning him of the dangers that lay beyond. He stumbled into the hallway, shadows lurked, stretching and folding into grotesque shapes. He squinted into the darkness, searching for any hint of movement. The hall, too, felt like it was closing in around him. The air thickened with despair. Somewhere deeper in the house, he heard the cries again, raw and desperate. It was the sound of a child in pain, echoing in the depths of the night. His heart gave a lurch, pulling at him like a marionette caught in tangled strings. "Help!" he shouted, convinced he could penetrate the silence. The house felt alive, breathing around him, whispering secrets ice cold against the back of his neck. With every step he took, dread clawed at him. Memories washed over him, streets filled with laughter, flickering streetlights casting shadows that danced like phantoms. But this darkness had a pulse, drawing him closer into its grasp. He turned a corner, flashlight beams sweeping wildly, illuminating half-melted candles, their wax dripping like tears onto faded family photos. Each image told a story, marked by tragedy. The faces smirked back, but their glee twisted into sinister smiles against the backdrop of despair. Short bursts of movement took shape at the edge of his vision, where shadows rippled and flitted like whispers of secrets never meant to be uncovered. Instinct screamed for him to flee, to drop everything and run. But he was frozen, rooted by curiosity laced with dread. A door swung ajar in the distance. Heart pounding, he moved closer. The sound of whimpering grew louder, almost familiar. As he crossed the threshold, he was met with a room drenched in moonlight, just enough to illuminate the shape crouched in the corner. "Help me please." The voice, agonizingly sweet, sent shivers down his spine. It was a child, but the fragility of the plea twisted inside him. He stepped forward, the bright beam of his flashlight falling across the child's face. It bore the same familiar features, his breath caught in his throat. "Am I seeing things?" He blinked, denying the reality crashing into him. A laugh echoed, twisted and mocking. "You brought her back." Jake staggered backward as the walls shuddered, their very essence pushing against him. He needed to run. But he couldn't move. The shadows behind him surged, creeping closer, engulfing his escape. What had he unleashed back into the world? He turned to face the child's eyes, unblinking, void, and full of expectation. "Will you save her?" Then everything went dark, swirling memories crashing around like waves. As he struggled against the tide, a final whisper echoed in his mind. "What will you sacrifice next?" He opened his mouth to scream, but the darkness swallowed the sound. Would he become a pawn in the game, or would he seek the truth and risk everything? Jake's eyes fluttered open, but all he saw was blackness, thick and suffocating. It pressed against him, a living thing, coiling around his thoughts like a constrictor. Panic flooded him, heart pounding like a drum in his chest. He fought to remember where he was, but his mind felt foggy, everything jumbled. A sound pierced the silence, soft but distinct, a child's whimper. It cut through the darkness, a desperate plea that pulled at the very fabric of his being. He couldn't let fear numb him. He had come too far, he had to act. Jake pushed himself upright, feeling the floor beneath him cold, damp wood, as if the house itself wept. He reached for the flashlight, fingers trembling as he fumbled for the handle. When he finally clicked it on, a weak beam illuminated the twisted remnants of the room around him: old toys, floorboards that creaked like bones underfoot, and faded murals that seemed to weep along with the house. "Is someone there?" he called, voice breaking. The shadows danced along the walls, alive, whispering secrets he wasn't meant to hear. He took a breath, steadying himself. The whimpering grew louder as if it beckoned him, pulling him toward a different section of the house. There was urgency in the call, he could not fail. Dropping the flashlight to the floor, he sprinted down the narrow hallway, the darkness clawing at his back. The air was thick, warm with an unnatural heat that made sweat bead on his forehead. He turned another corner, heart hammering, where the whimpering morphed into a cry, twisted with agony. A scrap of memory flickered: his daughter. That face. The warmth of her embrace. He stumbled, fighting the urge to recoil. The very thought shot through his veins like ice. "Please. Help me." The child's voice broke his thoughts, each word sharper than ice. It was closer now, a jagged cry that jerked him toward an opening at the end of the hall. Somewhere in the recesses of his mind, he sensed a warning. This place reveled in tragedies, stitched together by fear and resentment. Something dark was attached to that sound, binding them in ghostly chains. Was it even his daughter he sought? Or something more sinister? Jake burst into the room. It was larger than the others, its walls draped in shadow that twisted like fingers clawing at the air. There, in the center, standing under a flickering bulb, was the silhouette of a small child, her golden hair shimmering like coins in the muted light. "Help me." She whirled to face him, wide eyes glimmering with fear. His daughter's eyes. He stammered, "It's me, honey. I'm here." But she only gazed back silent, eyes searching his face for something he didn't understand. The shadows roiled, thickening at the corners of the room, somehow alive, hungry. "Jake, you left me," she whispered. Her voice twisted in echo, layered with regrets that ripped through his heart. Jake shook his head, the weight of guilt swallowing him whole. "I didn't mean to. I thought I lost you. Will you save me?" Her voice tinged with desperation, vulnerability that cut deeper than any blade. Another laugh, echoing from somewhere behind her, sent ripples of terror through his spine. It wasn't a child's giggle, it was deep and mocking, filling the room with shadows that crept closer, inviting him to step into their dark embrace. "Your love isn't enough," Jake, the voice transformed into something thick and icy. "You always want to save, but what will you give up?" He held his daughter's gaze as cold dread gripped him. He felt the walls closing in a prison formed by fears he thought he'd left behind. "Please!" he yelled, panic gripping him as he felt the room shift and pulsate, the shadows reaching for him like hands of the damned. Jake's heart raced, but in that moment, he realized the choice laid heavy before him. To save her, he would have to lose something he cherished. Would he become the very monster that haunted his dreams? As the shadows surged, wrapping themselves around him like a shroud, the last flicker of the light began to fade. Then, suddenly, a child's laughter erupted, sharp and piercing, echoing through the darkened space. But it wasn't his daughter's laugh, it was the other child, taunting and eerie, beckoning him closer. He took a step back, but the ground seemed to give way beneath him. "Will you sacrifice your soul to save hers?" With the laughter ringing in his ears, a chilling thought engulfed him. What if this was just the beginning? The darkness loomed ever larger, shouting secrets he could not understand. The ground shifted beneath Jake, and he stumbled, his heart racing. It felt like the very foundations of the room were alive, twisting like a serpent beneath him. Fear gripped him tighter as shadows pulsed, drawing closer, making the air heavy and suffocating. That laughter echoed still, vibrating off the walls, igniting something primal deep within him. He needed to act, to escape this nightmare that consumed him, but the door he had entered through had vanished, replaced by a wall of darkness. Panic clawed at his throat. This couldn't be real. He blinked hard, heart racing, desperate to shake off the effects of the shadows creeping toward him. Stay back! He shouted, as a wave of shadows expanded at his command, only to retreat, almost playfully, as if testing his resolve. The child stood unmoving, her face a blank slate now, as the laughter morphed into something sinister, a chorus of voices rising and falling like a sinister tide. It was a cacophony of whispers, urges, and commands. Help me, save me, her voice returned, fragmented, yet layered with more than terror. Was it resentment? Why do you linger here? Jake called out, taking a step closer while desperately searching for any sign of a way out. What do you want from me? And then, the laughter shifted to a low growl. A presence loomed behind her, a monstrous shape wavering in the flickering light. It was featureless, but somehow, Jake could sense its eyes were locked onto him. Jake's insides twisted as it stepped forward, and he felt the bitter cold seep into his bones. You hunger for redemption, it sneered, voice like frozen steel, but know this, a price must be paid. Stop! He clenched his fists, trying to summon courage, but dread coursed through him like electricity, coursing through his veins, making every nerve scream. I won't give up anything. The creature's shadows snaked around him, wrapping tighter. Your will is weak. You think you can save her without cost. Behind it, he caught a glimpse of the child, her features flickering like a dying flame. Daddy, she echoed softly, and her voice pierced him deeply, laced with longing. Please, Jake gasped, torn between the love he felt and the dark promise growing around him. The laughter returned, now filled with hunger, echoing in every corner of the room, feeding off his fear. It's a game of sacrifice, Jake. Who will you let go? The monstrous voice taunted. Fingers trembling, Jake looked from the child to the looming darkness. What was the sacrifice? What would be lost? Suddenly, the world around them blurred, a whirl of shadow and light. The walls buckled and twisted, flaring with an unholy glow, revealing flashes of past moments, memories twisted by blame and regret. Laughter hung like a noose, squeezing tighter around his throat. Will you save your daughter? The figure demanded, or are you prepared to lose another? In that moment of rising chaos, he was overwhelmed by the weight of decisions he never meant to face. The shadows grew impatient, swirling like a maelstrom. He felt his heart thundering against his chest, a battle waged between love and fear. He couldn't let her be lost again. He wouldn't that with renewed defiance, Jake surged forward, determined to confront the darkness and reclaim what was lost. But as he stepped into that waiting shadow, everything fell silent. Abruptly, the child's laughter washed over him once more, chilling him to the bone. I know you, it giggled, a voice now clearer, yet echoing another truth, one he didn't comprehend. The room shimmered, flickering between visions he couldn't grasp. Was the child truly his? Or had he stumbled into a nightmare from which escape was impossible? In that fragile stillness, Jake held his breath, desperate for a way to fight back, or perhaps, to finally understand, what had he awakened? Something ancient and dark stirred resentfully in the depths of the shadows, and as Jake stepped closer, the cold tendrils snaked around him, squeezing tighter, drawing him into a truth he wasn't prepared for. A whisper wrapped itself around Jake, tightening as the shadows coiled closer. He could feel their chilling breath against his skin, like icy fingers prying for entrance into his thoughts. What truth? Jake croaked, his voice barely a tremor in the oppressive silence. The child's giggle echoed again, it was playful yet filled with a promise of torment. Suddenly, the air thickened, and the walls pulsed with a dangerous energy, vibrating with a rhythm like a heartbeat. Jake closed his eyes for a moment, trying to center himself amidst the chaos, but every breath he took felt heavier. The darkness was not just around him, it was within him, gnawing at the edges of his mind. What had he done? He opened his eyes, bracing himself as the shadows shifted, reflecting the panic in his heart. If you want something from me, just tell me. He shouted, desperation clawing at him. The laughter twisted into something more appalling, morphing into a multitude of distorted voices that filled the room until it was suffocating. You have the power, but no strength, it taunted, the darkness pulsating in time with Jake's racing heart. What will you sacrifice to save her? Her innocence. Your sanity. Or perhaps, your very soul. The child's form flickered again, more solid this time. Daddy, she whispered, and the simple pleading shattered him. Tears burned behind his eyes as the monstrous figure loomed closer, its own shadow stretching impossibly, threatening to consume everything. Suddenly, a flicker of light cut through the shroud of darkness, a doorway. Was it a way out? Or just another trap? He hesitated, glancing back at the girl whose fading light beckoned him. Confusion clouded his thoughts. He wanted to rush to her, yet he felt the pull of the shadows, a reminder of the sacrifices he still needed to confront. Make your choice, the creature hissed. Or remain lost forever. Motion surged within him. Jake pushed forward, heart pounding dangerously loud as he grasped for clarity in the swirling chaos. What if he allowed the darkness to lead him? What if he surrendered? He stopped, locked in place. Was relinquishing control the very thing he feared? But what if, just this once, the darkness held the key to redemption? He steadied his breathing and took a step toward the child, the light flickering brighter, desperate for his resolve. I won't leave you. He cried, the weight of love crashing over him like a tidal wave, swallowing any remnants of doubt. The shadows recoiled for a heartbeat, as if stunned by his conviction. Foolish man, the monster snarled, advancing with a fury that darkened the world around them. You think you can withstand the truth? You don't know what lies beneath, within you. The fear was suffocating now, every dread curling around his throat, turning him inside out. But something raw ignited inside, a ferocious love for the girl, for every moment stolen and twisted past. I will fight. Jake bellowed, fueled by a fear that clenched tightly, yet somehow also motivated him. The creature howled in rage, shadows exploding outward as if Jake's defiance ruptured its very being. For a split second, he felt dizzy with power, this strange and chaotic energy surging through him, shifting the shadows into something less suffocating, more tangible. But tears streamed down his face as he felt a pull away from the girl, the darkness wrapping around him once more as cursed memories flooded back of screams left unheard, of shadows from his past that thrived in regret. As the world around him twisted, a horrific realization settled in, the darkness had always been a part of him. Jake stumbled backward, grasping desperately at the fraying ribbons of light and shadow merging within him. Accept it. The monster boomed, embrace your darkness. And just like that, the light faltered. Jake felt a shiver of hopelessness race down his spine as the child's laughter took on an eerie tone. Daddy, please. The shadows didn't yield, his resolve crumbled beneath the weight of 1,000 lost choices. While the monstrous form closed in, Jake knew he needed to confront everything he avoided. But what would it cost him in the end? Something cold brushed against his cheek as the laughter distorted, mingling with whispers that began to speak his name. Jake's resolve wavered as reality blinked around him. If he stayed trapped, would he, too, become a shadow in this nightmare? Would he lose everything trying to reclaim what was lost? He breathed deeply, the weight of choice bearing down, drifting toward the child, that flickering reminder of warmth in a world turned entirely cold. What awaited him, hidden within that haunting embrace? The shadows lunged at Jake like a pack of ravenous wolves, jaws snapping, eager to drag him into their cold depths. Panic clawed at his throat, constricting tightly around him as he backed away. Each step felt like breaking through thick, wet fog that clung to his skin, and he could feel the dark energy pulsing through the air, a shuddering echo of his heart. Daddy, the child's voice sliced through the chaos, tender yet tinged with an unholy echo. Jake's insides twisted. Her eyes, trapped between dimensions, shone with tears that seemed to magnify the darkness gathering around them. Don't leave me, please. Stop. Jake shouted, desperate to silence the clamor inside his head. Enough. The shadows froze momentarily, just long enough for him to glimpse the ugly truth lurking behind them, a mirror reflecting all the choices he had ever made, each one marked by regret. Memories flashed arguments with his spouse over trivial things, the night he drank too much, a sharp word spoken that had sent them spiraling into silence. Each moment reinforced the monster's taunt within him. Could he really save her from the darkness while being a prisoner of his past? The creature danced closer, its visage dark but alive, skin glistening like oil, eyes gleaming with promises of revelation. You want her? Then let us discuss what you've done. In that sinister voice resonated his own guilt, spitting back accusations. Jake grabbed his head, squeezing tightly, wishing to crush the relentless whispers that echoed, "You're unworthy." A flash of light drew his attention back to the girl. She was no longer just a gleaming silhouette but taking shape, transforming into something more visceral, more real. There those plump cheeks, the adorable gap between her front teeth. She was a fragment of his heart, a flicker of hope in these engulfing shadows. No. He howled. You won't take her from me. The air crackled around him as he willed the light forth, fighting against the shadows with the love buried deep inside. Jake's hands pulsed with an energy he had never felt before. As he extended them toward her, a soft glow enveloped him, a warm, gentle presence cutting through the dread. Suddenly, the edges of the shadows peeled back like a curtain revealing a grotesque carnival of lost souls, all crying, all trapped in their own despair. Their faces melded into a collective scream, a haunting presence that flooded his senses. Jake recoiled, stumbling as the sheer weight of their collective sorrow crashed over him. The child appeared genuinely frightened now, glancing back at the monstrous figure looming behind her. What is happening? She cried, her voice small amidst the chaos. Stay with me. Jake yelled, feeding off their bond. Don't look away. But the shadows surged forward, devouring all light, threatening to pull her back into the depths of darkness. You cannot fight your past. You can only embrace it. The monster screeched. No. He shouted, feeling warmth dissolve into a cold wave of despair. The more he resisted, the more tightly the darkness constricted around his heart. His thoughts scattered, fragmented like glass, splintering until the child's face faded back into the whispers of the void. Was this truly the end? Would his reckoning push her back into the grim abyss? He felt dizzy, lightheaded, as if the ground could fall away at any moment. Just then, a cold breeze washed over him, and the shadows chittered in mockery. Will you join them? It hissed, or will you cast your light into the abyss? In that moment of brutal clarity, Jake felt the weight of his choices crash over him, the would-be hero crumbling as guilt weighed him down. He fought to stand tall, to protect her, but the shadows swelled, clawing at his sanity. He was trapped not in the darkness around him, but within the darkness of his own soul. As he teetered on the brink, something began to draw him closer to the edge, both terrifying and seductive. You belong here, it whispered, wrapping around the tendrils of his consciousness. Jake hesitated, the precarious balance dangling before him, and grasped for understanding of what the shadows offered. Would he dare take the plunge? A scream echoed, piercing through the chaos. Daddy! Help me! With the ground trembling beneath him, Jake felt the terrifying urge to either leap forward into darkness or fight back with every shred of strength still in him. He made his decision, but the price? What awaited him in the depths of his own despair, hiding in the looming shadows of his past? The shadows roared, their cacophony a swirling tempest around him. Jake's breath came in sharp gasps, each inhale like ice clawing down his throat. He staggered, the space around him warping, twisting with his own denial. His heart raced, pounding, each beat screaming for him to act, to save her. Daddy, please. Her voice sliced through, desperate and trembling. The child. His child. He couldn't lose her. No. The thought was like fire surging through his veins, igniting any remaining ounce of resolve. Stay with me. Jake shouted, pushing back against the shadows, his fists clenched. I want to let them take you. He took a step forward, but the ground beneath him swirled like quicksand, threatening to pull him down. The monstrous figure laughed from the darkness, a prickle of fear crawling down his spine. You think love can save her? You are but a flicker in the void. It hissed, with gritted teeth. Jake fought the encroaching darkness, feeling the flicker of determination grow. Love is more powerful than your darkness. He yelled back, and with that proclamation, something strange happened. The shadows surged back, recoiling slightly as if stung. For a fleeting moment, he glimpsed the memories again, good moments, laughter, bedtime stories, and soft hugs. Each recollection sent ripples of warmth through his heart. These are the lights you cannot extinguish. He screamed again, his voice reverberating as he thrust his hands outward, as if pushing away the very fabric of despair that enveloped them. The creature shrieked in agony, wailing as if each memory took bite after bite from it. Your past is your prison. It spat, its eyes turning dark, but Jake saw the flicker of uncertainty. A crack had formed in its confidence. His daughter's face came clearer, that gap-toothed grin starting to shine through in the shadowy gloom. She was there. I'm coming. Jake shouted, hands stretched out towards her. He surged forward, feeling the light amplifying inside of him, flooding the darkness. He didn't have to grapple with his past anymore. It was part of him, both the good and the bad, and he could use it. Each memory flickered as bright as a candle flame, stubborn, defiant against the suffocating murk. The shadows pulsed with fury. You are a fool. It screamed. Join us, or suffer eternally. Jake's pulse quickened, the stakes rose higher. With every ounce of strength, he intensified the light, casting it into their depths, like a beacon in the storm. I am not afraid of you. You do not own me. Then, a tremor shook the darkness as the creature staggered back. Its form flickered, glitching between its grotesque shape and images of the lives it devoured, lost souls whose faces echoed sorrow and despair. Stay with me, sweetie. Jake shouted to his daughter, seeing her flinch from the shadows. The energy surged around him, radiating waves of light that shocked the air with static. For a fleeting instant, they were both illuminated, the potency of their love solidifying against the encroaching hours of horror. But the shadows weren't done. They clawed back viciously, hissing, You think this light will save you? You don't know the truth. You are your own worst enemy. Black tendrils shot toward Jake, wrapping around his wrists, dragging him down. His heart thundered, wild panic crashed through him. What do you mean? He gasped, wrestling against their grip. A slither of doubt crept up his spine, and in that moment of uncertainty, the shadows whispered in seductive tones, weaving a narrative plans that had fallen through, betrayals, unhealed wounds, laying bare his weaknesses. No. He couldn't let it cloud him, not when he needed to fight for her. But as the shadows pulled tighter, inching towards his breaking point, a part of him began to unravel, revealing flushed memories that begged him to succumb. The darkness was teasing, beckoning him to join the forgotten. Give in, Jake cooed, wrapping cold tendrils around his heart like a vice. Embrace your despair, and all will be revealed. He could feel the warmth of his daughter starting to fade, and desperation surged like fire through his blood. No. I won't drown. You don't get to take her. The dark laughter resonated, filling every corner of his mind. Ah, but the choice is yours. Are you ready to discover the secrets of your soul? As the shadows tightened their grip, thicker than any nightmare, Jake knew what he had to do, but would he have the courage to confront the deepest horrors of his heart? What awaited him in the suffocating embrace of his own despair? The shadows constricted tighter, pulling Jake into a darkness that felt like a living entity, hungry and merciless. How long could he hold on? His grip on hope began to falter, the light flickering in and out like a dying bulb. He could barely catch his breath as icy despair washed over him, choking him with doubt. Daddy, I'm scared. Her voice, a whisper now, sent a jolt through him. He couldn't let her slip away, not when she needed him most. But uncertainty churned in the pit of his stomach, each second stretching into eternity. Fight it, Jake. He urged himself, voice cracking. Images of her swirled in his mind, the laughter over pancakes, bath time splashes, the way she smiled at him with pure joy. He had to endure. Fight it. He squeezed his eyes shut, channeling those moments, ready to burst through the darkness. But each memory seemed feeble against the suffocating black. Your light is fading, the creature cooed, its voice a snake's hiss. Do you not see? You're as broken as your past. They will take her, anyhow. No. Panic clawed at him as waves of guilt crashed down. Was he failing her? A voice inside whispered doubt. She deserves better. Wouldn't it be easier to just give in? Let go, Jake, the shadows intoned, wrapping around his throat like a noose. Let it all slip away. Join us in the eternal night. The sensation was so inviting it made bile rise in him. Jake fought against the creeping urge, pushing back with frantic energy. The shadows vibrated, their force shaken by the furious light he conjured inside. You don't own me. He roared, igniting every shred of defiance in him, but the darkness was cunning. What about the times you failed her? The promises you broke? It tightened its grip around his heart, squeezing until he gasped. Memories flooded in, breakdowns, arguments, a father too lost in the haze of life to see the pain in her eyes. No, he groaned, clinging to the flickering light deep within him, the desperate urge to reach for her. He could hear her whimpering, the shadows echoing her cries, morphing fear into a symphony of despair. A vision struck him, her face, covered in shadows, searching for him, begging him to save her. The pure, innocent love in her eyes ignited something primal within him. You want me to give up? He yelled, the fire in his chest roaring back. I won't. With every ounce of strength, Jake drew on every warm memory, pouring his love into the suffocating darkness. He thrust his hands forward, calling upon that love like a rallying cry. I will not let you take her. The shadows recoiled again, shrieking as his light pushed them back. But something inside the darkness splintered, shaking with anticipation. You can try, Jake, but a truth awaits you. Cold winds whipped around them, and Jake could feel emotion spilling from him: rage, guilt, loss. Suddenly, a piercing scream erupted from somewhere within the shadowy abyss, unlike anything he had felt before, both chilling and freeing. His energy surged again, shimmering like threads weaving through a dark tapestry. Stay with me. He yelled, feeling real power pulse through him, threatening to break those bonds once and for all. The shadows recoiled, their laughter becoming shrill and desperate. What have you unleashed? They howled, their form faltering, twisting. Shapes flickered and revealed faces he once knew, souls he had never saved. What is this? He gasped, dread flooding his senses. In the heart of the darkness lay echoes of his past, each one tied to a regret or a choice he had made. The painful memories of loss, his unwillingness to confront his failures weighing down on him, and standing amidst them all, a figure, shrouded in darkness, grinned with a malevolence that felt familiar. You think you've conquered the shadows? Each light you've summoned only leads you deeper into the truth of your own soul. Jake's world spun, anxiety gnawing at him as he faced this twisted reflection of his own essence. Was this his reckoning? What more awaited him beneath the weight of his own sorrow? Would he be able to rescue his daughter, or was the truth buried far deeper, entwined with the darkest threads of his existence? And as the creature stretched forward, whispering secrets he wasn't ready to hear, Jake felt the chill of foreboding grip him, leaving one undeniable question lingering in the air: could he save her, or was he destined to confront his own dark fate? Jake's heart thundered, the rhythm pounding like a war drum against his ribcage. The figure in the shadows breathed, dark and alive. You're brave, Jake, but bravery has its costs. Those words slithered into his mind, wrapping tighter than the shadows around him. Each syllable felt like a thread in a twisted tapestry of fate. Glimpses of light flickered in the corners of his thoughts: his daughter's laughter, the way she'd jump into his arms after school, the spark in her eyes that washed away his stress. That brightness was all that mattered now. Step closer, the figure taunted, its voice laced with malice, and watch as your memories turn to ash. It leaned closer, the weight of its malice suffocating. The shadows pulsed like they were breathing, feeding off the terror in the air. Jake stood tall, pushing back against the dread, forcing his mind to center on her. "I want to let you take her," he shouted, each word a lifebuoy thrown into the swirling sea of despair. "Do you even know what you'll sacrifice to keep her?" The creature's laughter, low and rumbling, echoed around them. The memories of his past danced through his mind, moments of weakness, moments of rage, times he couldn't be there for her. Each pang of pain resurrected a shadow, twisting it into something almost human. "No more!" Jake roared. With each roar, fragments of light fought against the darkness, rippling outward like waves of hope crashing against despair. "Will you fight for her?" The figure rasped, the shadows pulsating around it as if they were alive. "What will you pay to keep her safe?" Jake's body shook, the weight of those questions heavy on his shoulders. But he remembered her face, her innocent smile, sparkling eyes full of joy. He drew strength from that, each heartbeat reminding him of what was at stake. "I will pay anything," he declared fiercely. "I will confront my demons." In that moment, the air thickened, stifling like heavy fog. The shadows writhed, encircling him in a grip that determined to break his will. "Then embrace what you are," the figure sneered. A chill crept through Jake's veins, and his vision darkened momentarily. "You are lost, Jake. You belong to the darkness," he gasped, pushing against the crushing weight. "I own my past, and it doesn't own me." With every ounce of resolve, he thrust forth every painful memory, every regret, every time he hesitated or faltered. Light erupted from him, a brilliant glow that cut through the oppressive dark. "I am my failures, but I am also my triumphs," he shouted, voice booming against the cacophony of shadows. The creature hissed, a sound of pure rage as despite itself, it began to unravel. "You think your light will conquer this darkness?" "Yes," Jake declared. "Because it's rooted in love." The shadows hissed and writhed, and beneath his feet, the ground began to tremble as if nature itself was responding to his defiance. Was it working? He could see it now, the light swirling out from him like dawn chasing away night. The grotesque form before him staggered, flickering between darkness and hazy remnants of something familiar, something lost. "Daddy!" A familiar voice pierced through the chaos. It was his daughter, so small, so filled with hope. The shadows shrieked, torn between the light and the dark chaos around. "You're a fool, Jake." It spat. "Love cannot save her. 12 years of raising her saved me," he yelled, feeling the glow pulse with each word. The darkness surged, the shadows wailing, their hold on him shattering slowly. He reached toward the flickering form of his daughter, desperate to reconnect. "Keep your light, sweetheart." Jake took a bold step forward, gathering every ounce of strength, pushing back the darkness that strained against him, releasing memories of laughter, birthday celebrations, every hug given and received. "Let her go," he commanded the monstrous figure with ferocity ignited by love. In that moment, the shadows shrank back, clawing desperately as they lost their strength against the illumination that radiated from Jake, shaking like the dawn breaking through the night. "No!" The figure bellowed. With one last push, he unleashed a tidal wave of light, a loud triumphant roar that shattered the darkness, washing it away, drowning its bitter laughter in pure, blinding warmth. The figure screamed, a haunting sound, as the darkness melted away, revealing the grotesque faces of lost souls retreating into screams of anguish. Jake broke through. A bright light enveloped him and, in an instant, the child appeared at his side, tugging on his hand. "Daddy!" She beamed, her eyes overflowing with love and innocence. She looked like sunshine breaking through clouds, a glimpse of pure, untainted joy. All at once, everything clicked into blissful clarity. The darkness lay broken at his feet. He didn't just conquer it, he embraced it. Together, he whispered, and they walked into the light, fingers intertwined, hearts full. The shadows whispered softly, lingering only at the edges of their memory. In that moment, everything felt balanced. Outside, the first rays of dawn kissed the horizon, a new beginning blooming into existence. Brookdale felt different, The town breathed more freely, whispers of forgotten hope rising with the morning sun. Jake turned to his daughter, heart swelling. "We'll always face the dark together." And as the morning light washed over them, they stepped into the world beyond, finally free. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support and not miss out on our next exclusive story. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and flow those good vibes. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this thrilling conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. The true fans know how important it is to keep our community alive and thriving.